Hey guys, Granville here, and I'm back with another sort of short video on Death Battle. Recently, they just announced that the season's coming back May 22nd with Ant-Man vs. Atom, and in that teaser trailer, they ended up revealing something very interesting. They ended up revealing the Cipher, which most people have speculated is going to relate to the next season, because there are symbols on here that represent 3 matchups we have already. Ant-Man vs. Atom, obviously, Bill vs. Discord, and Cole vs. Alex. So I thought it would be a fun video if I decided to go through and predict what these symbols mean and speculate about what this possible season could look like. And real quick, this is just 100% my opinion. I'm not saying that this is going to be factually correct, but I will say I'm going to try my best to guess what the matchup is based on logic or logistics and based on what Death Battle themselves likes. That sound good? So let's get it over with. So, going clockwise, starting with the question mark. Obviously, this is Bill vs. Discord. This is a no-brainer. The question mark is the most iconic symbol of Gravity Falls, yada yada yada. Let's move on to the next one, shall we? Next up, we have the $ symbol, and I think this one is another very obvious one, or at least to most people it is. People think and believe that this is going to be Scrooge McDuck versus Mr. Krabs. It makes the most sense. It's the most relevant matchup that relates to money. And to be honest with you, I can absolutely see them doubling down on SpongeBob now, especially with SpongeBob vs. Aquaman coming out last year. Also, more cartoons is very base, so I'm going to go ahead and put this on here as the $ symbol. The next symbol we have is this tree flower looking thing, and to be honest with you, when I think of this symbol, I think of Vader vs. Obito, just because of the Tree of Life, the fact that Star Wars has been in every season since Season 7, and the fact that Vader vs. Obito is one of, if not the most requested matchups in Death Battle history right now. Like, it is very popular, and I think that getting a Naruto episode this season will make a lot of sense. Also, literally everyone on the team wants to do this. Like, I mean that literally. Everyone wants to do this matchup. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to put my money on Vader vs. Obito. Next up, we have this skull and crossbones symbol. Now, people have speculated that this definitely has to be related to a pirate, and I agree with that. However, though, you can also maybe make an argument that it also means Deadeye, as in Jesse McCree versus Aaron Black. But I do think that the pirate idea is much more likely in terms of what the matchup really is. So I think in terms of pirate matchups, it's either going to be a One Piece related idea like Whitebeard vs. Escanor, or even Luffy for that matter, or, in my personal opinion, a skeleton pirate matchup that is Spinal versus Cervantes. This is a hugely popular Killer Instinct and Soul Calibur idea, and based on what Liam said in one of the casts, which unfortunately I cannot find, he did say that this was a very popular idea. And to be honest with you, it would make sense for a Halloween episode, especially after we got the serial killer, the vampire, and the werewolf episode. We really don't have a pirate idea, and I think that would fit with quite well into variety this year. Next up is the star icon, which, again, people have said is most likely a JoJo matchup. But honestly, that feels way too obvious. Like, come on. These hints are very broad and not very descriptive, and it just being a blatant JoJo idea just feels way too obvious. For me, I think that this is most likely hinting at a space-themed episode. Most likely a Guardians of the Galaxy idea, because of the movie coming out later this year. I think, in terms of Guardians matchups, there's only 2 that realistically could happen. That being Stitch vs. Rocket and Star-Lord vs. Commander Shepard. I think Shepard vs. Star-Lord has a good opportunity of happening, but I wouldn't have put money on Stitch vs. Rocket, because that's also a very solid idea, and it's decently popular as well. So I would say both of these have a very good shot of happening. On to the recycling symbol. This one has tripped up a lot of people and has quite a bit of different directions you can go in. You can treat this as a sort of, oh, it's a rematch fight, so it's most likely probably going to be Doomslayer versus Chief. Or you can treat it as a Captain Planet idea, where it's just going to be Captain Planet bodying Aang, which RIP the man's. But there are 2 other interesting directions you can go in with this. You could say this is an idea that they scrapped and is just going to bring it back. So it could be something like Rogue Squadron versus Star Fox, or it could be something like Black Cat versus Catwoman, which would be very disappointing. Or if you really wanted to, you can argue it means Galactus versus Unicron, because one of the ciphers says the end will come from what begins, which could relate to the cycle of planets within Transformers and in Marvel. But me personally, I don't think it's that deep in terms of its meaning. It's probably just a rematch idea, so I'm probably going to say Doomslayer versus Chief is this section. Next one, we have the Scale of Justice as the symbol is basically. If that does not scream Dredd versus Punisher, I don't know what does. I know there's other people who have also said things like Sans versus the Judge and Miles Edgeworth versus Saul Goodman, which is very funny. And even Light versus Columbo because of the whole justice versus justice dynamic to it. Being real, I think it's just Dredd versus Punisher. This is a very, very long overdue idea, and I think that it would add quite the variety to it as well. Next up, we have this half and half symbol. Some people have said that this could relate to that of a moon-based idea, so something like Moon Knight versus Azrael, or it could relate to a verse having a half moon, something like Ruby versus Maka, where both the moons are halved, or it could relate to something else, such as Monokuma vs. Koro Sensei, with the moon being destroyed and Monokuma being black and white. Me personally, I think that the most likely matchup of this is actually relating to that of Guts. Guts is referenced on here, I believe, in one of these serves. In one of the ciphers, so I think that a Guts idea is very likely. It's either going to be Claire or Dimitri. Personally, I'm going to go with Claire because I think that is a more interesting matchup, and also I'm biased as hell for it, so, you know. Gungala. The yin and yang symbol, people have said it could be Liu Kang versus Jago, but it's Cole versus Alex. You know, lightning, and then whatever the hell Alex has, his virus thing. God, why the fuck did we get this matchup again instead of like Spy versus 47? I'll never understand this shit. But let's skip past the mediocrity and look at the next two symbols, which I think are the most interesting ones. The man in the suit and the pentagram. For me, I think the pentagram is the easiest symbol to decipher. A lot of people have said that it's a demonic-based episode, and I agree with that. I think it has something to do with the demon. People have said John versus Raido. People have said Spawn versus Demi-Fiend. Others have said things like obviously Doomslayer. I've said Kazuya versus Wesker because of the whole demon gene and the whole devil in disguise aspect to it. But I think this matchup is much easier than most people realize. I think that this is going to be Spawn versus Ghost Rider. Spawn versus Ghost Rider is the most popular Spawn idea outside of pretty much anywhere in general. It's very popular. Not to mention, Ghost Rider in Death Battle is very popular because it is literally most viewed in modern Death Battle times. It had over 8 million views and no other episode had topped that until Omni-Man vs. Homelander did in Season 9. So I think in general, the pentagram is just going to be Ghost Rider versus Spawn. I could see both getting a run back at some point this year. And as for the man in the suit icon, I could see it either being Kira versus Adachi or Kazuya versus Wesker. I'd probably bet more money on Kazuya vs. Wesker just because of Tekken 8 coming out this year and Resident Evil 4's remake as well. But I wouldn't say Kira vs. Dachi doesn't have a chance of happening. It's still very popular and people want to see Persona back on the show, so I wouldn't exactly mark it up as not going to happen this year. I just think Kazuya vs. Wesker is more likely. Now this next symbol is a bit interesting. It's a beaker with spikes around it. People have said that this could potentially be Jimmy vs. Dexter, but for me personally, I think that matchup is not likely to happen, unfortunately. However, though, it can't be Ant-Man versus Adam either because of the whole Adam literally being on here. There is only one place where a beaker and spikes would make sense, and that is with Bowser versus Eggman. Even the spikes themselves look like something you would see in like Bowser's Castle or something like that. Hell, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be a symbol of Bowser. Plus, with the Mario movie that just came out, it would just make a lot of sense for them to do another Mario matchup now, especially Bowser versus Eggman. Lightning round time. So these next three symbols are very simple. First of all, two swords clashing. That's just Chosen Undead versus Dovahkiin. It's already been a confirmed matchup, so it just makes sense for it to be here. Ant-Man versus Adam. This is fucking season opener, no shit. And then this water symbol, a bit more interesting. You could say it's Percy versus Zagreus because Liam has shown somewhat of an interest in it, and Zagreus with Hades 2 coming out just, you know, fits well. But you also can say it's Chaos versus Kyogre because, you know, Sonic is Sonic, and Ben had a really high liking to this idea. I think in terms of idea, or in terms of what the symbol can mean, it's probably Chaos versus Kyogre. I can see them double dipping on Sonic, to be honest with you. And I think in general, this would just make for a good filler episode. And lastly, the shuffle symbol. I'm gonna be honest with you, I have no idea what this means. People have said this can mean Ash versus Yugi, which I heavily doubt because they said they were gonna do it when they had the resources, and it seems like they don't have them at the moment. So I'm gonna assume this means something like a curveball idea, you know, a plot twist, kind of like how the shuffle button is a twist. So I'm gonna say Light versus Columbo just because I said so. And yeah, that is going to be it for this video. Appreciate you guys for watching. I know it's a bit shorter than usual and a bit more not very structured, but I'm cooking behind the scenes, you know, I'm making my content. Right now I'm working on Wacky Overwatch Adventures 2 and another big video, so look out for that. But yeah, that's going to be it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.